Welcome, General. Yeah, I'm talking directly to you. Whether you're leading a massive corporation, a scrappy little startup, or just a specialized project team, you are absolutely in a theater of organizational warfare. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to extract the pure tactical genius from part 2 of Robert Greene's phenomenal book, 33 Strategies of War. We're focusing exclusively on the dynamics of team warfare today. This is high-stakes, elite leadership material. It's not just about what you do as an individual anymore. It's all about how you orchestrate the people around you to achieve massive, sweeping victories. So get ready, because we are about to equip you with the ultimate commander's playbook.
Here is a harsh, unavoidable reality of leadership. Quote, "You are the general, but you cannot have your head everywhere." I mean, think about it. If you try to swing every single sword and fight every single battle yourself, your organization is literally going to crumble under the weight of your own limitations. To truly win at organizational warfare, you've got to master your team dynamics. You have to build a system that operates seamlessly even when you aren't in the room. And in this explainer, we're going to show you exactly how history's greatest military minds achieved that exact kind of leverage.
Okay, let's dive right into this with our first major pillar, defeating the groupthink snare. So you might be wondering, how does a leader scale their grand vision without micromanaging every little detail? How do you make sure your team thinks critically but still acts in total alignment with your goals? Well, to answer that, we look at one of the greatest organizational minds of the 20th century, General George Marshall. Marshall didn't try to run every operation himself. Instead, he taught his specific leadership philosophies to a highly curated, hand-picked group of protégés. He then placed these guys into incredibly authoritative positions with massive, high-risk responsibilities. And one of these men, famously, was Dwight Eisenhower. Marshall was the visionary holding the leverage, right? While Eisenhower and the others were the loyal operators actually running those remote systems. Notice the crucial emphasis on the word rely here. Marshall didn't just cross his fingers and hope his subordinates would do a good job. He absolutely ensured it. He built a chain of command he could implicitly trust, mainly because his team held the exact same core beliefs as he did. They ran their highly stressful, autonomous positions completely in sync with Marshall's overarching vision. They guaranteed the outcome because that blueprint was already deeply ingrained in their minds.
But there's a brilliantly kinetic strategy at play here, too. You know, you don't just want to hire clones of yourself. You use your carefully selected team to balance your own weaknesses with their unique strengths. You put leaders in place who are exceptional exactly where you might be a little flawed. However, and Greene gives us a really critical warning here, as you empower these remote leaders, you must carefully maintain your own authority and leverage. Make sure they always keep you in the loop. You delegate the operation for sure, but you never, ever abdicate your power.
And that brings us to our second pillar of organizational warfare, segmenting for speed. So, we've got our chain of command established. Now we need to talk about movement. Let's travel way back to the year 1805. Napoleon Bonaparte was facing off against the Austrian commander, Karl Mack. And this brilliantly illustrates the difference between traditional, clunky strategy and modern, agile warfare. See, Mack's forces were concentrated, just this massive, singular block of military might. Sure, it was strong, but it was incredibly slow to maneuver. Napoleon saw this and did the exact opposite. He divided his troops. He sent them into battle in separate, much smaller segments. Napoleon essentially gave these divided units very specific instructions to surround the enemy, but within those parameters, the French units were completely free to move. They were flexible, and above all, they were fast. The sheer speed and tactical agility of these segmented forces just completely overwhelmed the slow-moving Austrian army, forcing them to surrender. So, the lesson for your organization: know exactly when to unite your forces and when to divide them. A divided, empowered team is fast, precise, and frankly, incredibly lethal to the competition.
Which brings us to the third and final pillar, forging a unified crusade.
Look, we can have our trusted commanders, and our teams can be segmented for maximum speed, but honestly, none of that matters if the people aren't willing to bleed for the cause. To understand this, let's look at the legendary General Hannibal in 281 BC. Before ever facing the brutal reality of the battlefield, Hannibal arranged these fiercely competitive war games for his troops. Why? Because he needed to demonstrate exactly how far his men would go to join the upcoming fight. He used these intense games to show them, and himself, what they were truly made of. He was actively building collective energy, testing their mettle, and unifying their spirit way before the real war even began.
So, the crucial point here is understanding how to actually forge this kind of crusade day in and day out. Green distills this down into 7 timeless tenets of managing people well. First up, you absolutely must lead by example. Second, tap into emotion by fighting for a noble cause. Make them feel like they're on the side of the angels. Third, relentlessly cultivate team spirit and collective energy. Fourth, keep everyone focused purely on achieving the mission. Fifth, establish clear boundaries, punish and reward behavior accordingly. Sixth, force the team to bond through shared, difficult action. And seventh, get rid of the black sheep.
Actually, let's isolate that specific tactic for a second because it is arguably the most urgent thing on this list. You must aggressively protect the culture of your team. If there is a black sheep, someone who's cynical, lazy, or actively disrupting your leadership, you've got to remove them swiftly. One single toxic individual can unravel that entire unified crusade you've worked so hard to build. A general simply cannot tolerate mutiny or poison in the ranks. Excise the disruption immediately.
Okay, let's take a step back and see how the whole shebang builds into the ultimate formula for your success. If you want to transform your daily organizational grind into a victorious crusade, you have to synthesize these 3 pillars. You build an unbreakable chain of command that compensates for your own weaknesses. You segment your forces to move with just devastating flexibility and speed. And you unify the collective through shared struggles, a noble cause, and zero tolerance for toxic disruptors. Guys, this is the blueprint for victory.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to ponder as you step back onto the battlefield of your own life and work. You possess the playbook now. You know that you can't be everywhere at once. The strategies of Marshall, Napoleon, and Hannibal are now yours to deploy. So tell me, General, how will you segment your forces and forge your own crusade today?